أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا مظلوم يا غريب يا شهيد كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولآمرنهم فليغيرن خلق الله ومن يتخذ الشيطان وليا من دون الله فقد خسر خسرانا مبينا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. One of the most controversial topics in Islamic circles as well as non-Islamic circles is the subject of tattoos. Are tattoos acceptable in society or not? Is it okay to have tattoos or not? This is a question that is asked even in the Western world. Even among Westerners, Americans, Europeans, Canadians, they ask that are tattoos acceptable in society or not? When we come to Islamic circles, we see that Muslims ask the same exact question. In fact, one of the most common questions that I personally receive from many Muslim youth is the question on tattoos. What does Islam say about tattoos? Is it halal or is it haram? Some parents ask the same exact question to find out whether they should allow their youth, their teenagers, their son or daughter to have a tattoo or not. Now we see that youth and teenagers, they find tattoos to be very appealing. And of course this is a bit strange. Even though we expect our youth to be above this, above the issue of tattoos and to find tattoos appealing, yet nevertheless, wherever we go, we find a group of youth that are interested to know, is it halal or is it haram to have a tattoo? Because some of them, a great majority of them, wish to put on tattoos. And apparently some of our youth are affected by Western culture. This is something normal for youth who are living in the West to be affected by Western culture. This is one of the challenges of living in the West, that many of our youth have been westernized and affected by Western culture and have picked up Western qualities. And so the problem is not with the good qualities of Western culture, because every culture has good qualities and bad qualities. The problem is when our youth pick up the bad qualities of Western culture. And of course, we do not expect our youth who have been raised in the majalis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein to even consider putting on tattoos. Nevertheless, tattoos have been found to be appealing by many youth. There are some youth that have constant arguments with their parents to allow them to have tattoos. There are some youth that do put tattoos. One is not enough. When there's a new trend, when there's a new tattoo out there, they wish to get it. A second tattoo, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and before you know it, their body is full of, it's become a scribbling book, a body full of tattoos. I remember once we were in Hajj, and there was a young man that was with us in the group. I had no idea what he had under his shirt. Until the day that we went to Arafah, I discovered that there's no skin on his body. Every inch of his body has been filled with tattoos. There was a huge sword of Imam Ali on his back. There's a lot of youth that say, well, I like to put meaningful things. The things that I put on my body as a tattoo, they're meaningful. I like to make a political expression or a religious expression or a social expression. I'm making a statement with my tattoo. I'm trying to portray my love for the Ahlul Bayt and for Islam and for Amir al-Mu'mineen by putting the sword of Imam Ali on my back. What is wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with portraying my love, expressing my love for Imam Ali by putting his name or the sword of Imam Ali on my back or my shoulder or my biceps, or I don't know, God knows where else they put their tattoos? This is a question that we receive, and this is a hot topic today regarding tattoos. What does Islam say about my tattoos, my dear friends? Does Islam frown upon tattoos? Does Islam say that tattoos are haram and forbidden? Or no, Islam allows tattoos. What does the Quran say? Are there any verses from the Quran that address tattoos? Are there any ahadith and traditions and narrations by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that address tattoos or not? Of course, even though I believe that the minbar of Abu Abdullah is above such topics, especially the topic of tattoos. However, the minbar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is also meant to address social issues, is meant to provide solutions to social problems. And because this is one of the problems that our youth face today, we have no other choice but to address such an issue on the minbar of Abu Abdullah. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. To give a good answer based on the teachings of Islam, to give a good assessment of what Islam says regarding tattoos, what the Quran says, what the Ahlul Bayt say, what would be the position of Ahlul Bayt. If today Amir al-Mu'mineen were alive, if Imam Hussein was alive, if Imam al-Sadiq were alive, and the topic of tattoos would rise, what would they say? In order to give a good assessment of what the Ahlul Bayt would say regarding tattoos, let's first take a brief look on the history of tattoos. Where did they come from? What is the origin? Why did people practice putting on tattoos? What were their motives? What were the intentions? Let's take a brief look at the pros and cons of tattoos. Is there any harm? Is there any physical harm? Are there any medical dangers by putting on tattoos? Let's take a brief look so that we can have a good assessment of the situation. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Tattoos are defined as a form of body modification made by inserting indelible ink into the dermis layer of the skin to change the pigment. Meaning, it's a form of ink that goes into the skin and changes the color of the skin. Whether it's a drawing, a saying, a picture, a word, a letter, it changes the color through the usage of ink. Tattooing has been practiced for centuries, according to historians, in many cultures, and has spread out throughout the world. In fact, according to some historians, the oldest evidence of tattooing was 6,000 BC, preserved on skin that dates to 6,000 BC. That's how many years ago? 8,000 years ago, on a South American mummy in Peru, in South America. Tattooing was popular among certain ethnic groups. We're talking ancient times, not modern times. Ancient times. And ethnic groups such as southern China, Polynesia, Africa, Cambodia, Europe, Japan, North and South America, New Zealand, Philippines, Taiwan, and other countries, and other nations. Tattoos were something normal, part of these cultures and nations. Now, as for modern times, the very first documented professional tattoo artist, the first artist to open a tattoo parlor professionally, was in the United States of America by a German man by the name of Martin Hildebrand, who migrated to the United States, and he opened his first tattoo parlor shop in 1846. In 1846. The first documented professional tattooist in England, that was the US, in England, was established in the port of Liverpool in 1870, 30 years after the United States of America. In the United Kingdom, when tattoos first came out, they were associated with sailors and criminals. However, but in the 1980s, up till that point, it was associated with sailors and criminals. But after that, it became fashionable among even the upper class. In fact, even the royalty in the United Kingdom began putting on tattoos. Since the 1970s, and this is contemporary history, alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah, for the past 40 years, tattoos have become part of mainstream Western fashion. It's become something very normal and part of fashion. According to studies and statistics, in 2010, a study was conducted in Australia. 25% of Australians under the age of 30 had tattoos. 30% of Australians under the age of 30 had tattoos. In 2006, Pew Research Center, which is very well known in the United States of America, conducted a telephone survey of who has tattoos and who doesn't. The results was that 36% of Americans from ages 18 to 25 had tattoos. Americans aged 26 to 40, 40% of them had tattoos. And Americans from age 41 to 64, 10% of them had tattoos. Now, of course, this was a survey conducted by phone. In 2008, an organization called Harris Interactive conducted an online survey. And they discovered that 14% of adults in the United States of America have tattoos. This was online. And they discovered that men are slightly more likely to have a tattoo than women. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So we know that tattoos existed in several cultures, in several nations, and it was practiced. But what was the reason for its practice? This is very important to know. It existed in various cultures, various religions, various ethnic groups. But for what reason? When we study, when we examine this topic, we see that each culture had its own different reason. Tattoo symbolizes a different thing in every culture and every nation. For example, in China, tattoos had negative connotations. Criminals were marked by tattoos. It was only criminals who had tattoos. The lay people, your average citizens in China, did not have tattoos. The negative connotation of tattoos that existed in China, it was moved to Japan as well. When we study the history of tattoos in Japan, we see that it also has a negative connotation. And this negative connotation remains in China and Japan till today. Till today, as we speak, tattoos are taboos. Are China and Japan. They're frowned upon in these two countries. In some places, tattoos were used for identification, to identify certain people. For example, in Germany, during the Holocaust, the Nazis would put tattoos on inmates in concentration camps to identify them, so that after the Holocaust they would be able to identify the inmates and who belonged in which camp through the usage of tattoos. In the Roman Empire, tattoos existed. In fact, in the Roman Empire, tattoos were put on soldiers. Every soldier had to have a tattoo. Why? So that if he ever ran away and decided to desert the army and run away from the army, he could easily be traced and found because of his tattoo. In the Roman Empire, gladiators and slaves also had tattoos. Why? So they couldn't run away. If they were to run away, their tattoo would give it away. That I'm a gladiator, I'm a slave, I need to be brought back. This was one of the significance of tattoos in the Roman Empire. In 1330 AD, the Emperor Constantine banned tattooing on the face because they would tattoo on the face, they would put marks on the face. In ancient Egypt, tattooing was used as a form of medicine for the treatment of patients. Now, I don't exactly know how tattoos could be a form of medicine, but it was used in that form, in that way, in ancient Egypt. And we shall see in a little bit that tattooing can help psychologically. We shall see. Today, in the United States of America, many prisoners and criminals have tattoos. In fact, criminals and tattoos have distinctive tattoos to indicate facts about criminal behavior, prison sentences, organizational affiliation. Gang members put on tattoos to show that they are part of this gang or that gang. Criminals put on tattoos to show that they've committed this crime or that crime. Or some prisoners in prison put on tattoos to show how many years they have spent in prison. This has become something normal. Teardrop tattoos have become very symbolic. For prisoners who have murdered, they put on teardrops to signify how many murders they've committed. Even rapists who've committed rape, they put on a signal to show how many times they've committed this heinous crime. Tattoos are part of the US military and the British armed forces. These soldiers, they put on tattoos to signify certain battles, certain kills, military units. Which part of the military did they serve in? These tattoos serve as a form of identification. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In a study conducted in 2004 among 500 adults between the ages of 18 and 50. This was conducted in the United States of America. A study, a random study of 500 people, 500 adults from the ages of 18 to 50. This study found an explicit link and relationship between criminality and tattoos. They saw that many of those who have tattoos have a criminal record. They discovered that 72% of the respondents who responded to have a tattoo, 72% of them that had a face or neck or hands or finger tattoos have spent at least 3 days in jail. Have spent at least 3 days in jail. This says a lot. This says a lot about the link and relationship between criminals and those who have tattoos, or those who have tattoos and criminals. In many cultures around the world, tattoos are associated with criminality. In Russia, tattoos are associated with the Russian mafia. If you have a tattoo in Russia, you're most likely part of the Russian mafia. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Does this mean that whoever puts on a tattoo is a criminal and has been to jail? No, of course not. This doesn't mean this. These are studies and statistics, but it doesn't mean whoever puts on a tattoo is a criminal. In fact, there are some youth, educated youth, who've never spent a single day in jail, who have come from good backgrounds. They might even be religious, yet they still put on a tattoo. For some of them, it's a political expression. This tattoo signifies something. It's not like they're drawing on their body. No, this tattoo has a special significance. It means something. It has a political significance. For some of them, it has a religious significance. I know many youth that have a lot of love for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Thus they decide to draw the sword of Amir al-Mu'mineen, or the name of Imam Ali alayhi salam, or a special religious figure. Maybe they're marja' or a scholar, they draw his name. Thus it doesn't mean that whoever puts on a tattoo is a criminal. No, but there is a relationship. There's a great deal of those who put on tattoos that are criminals. There are some that use tattoos for cosmetics, to put on eyebrows. Of course, this applies to many of the ladies. There are many women that use tattoos for cosmetics. They put on eyebrows for tattoos. Or lipstick. Instead of putting on lipstick every day, they tattoo a lipstick on their lips. And I could just imagine how much that hurts. Or eyeliner. Or eyebrows. These are the usual forms of cosmetic tattoos. And of course, this is forbidden in Islam. This, I will rush to say, that cosmetic tattoos are forbidden in Islam, and they are haram. Why? Because this is a form of zina. This is a form of zina. Just like it is haram to put on lipstick in public for ladies. Of course, many ladies do not know this, or they know this, but they try to give it a blind eye. It is haram to put on lipstick in public. A woman is only allowed to put lipstick for her husband or her immediate relatives. That is it. Even eyeliner or mascara, any sort of makeup, any sort of beautification is not allowed, whether it's tattoos or not tattoos. Thus, to put on permanent cosmetic tattoo is forbidden in Islam. This is haram. A growing trend in the United States of America and in the United Kingdom is for people who have done surgery post-cancer, or have done surgery after cancer, for some people, that surgery was a bit difficult, psychologically difficult, especially if it leaves scars, especially for ladies who perform surgery for breast cancer. One of the suggestions that are made by physicians and doctors today to ladies who have performed surgery for breast cancer is to put on a tattoo, an artistic tattoo. Why? Because this helps psychologically overcome the battle and forget about that surgery and forget that past. Because there are many who have performed a surgery related to cancer and it hurts. Psychologically it hurts. Whenever they look at the scar, they look at the surgery spot, it reminds them of the past, it reminds them of the illness, it reminds them that it can come back again. Thus today there's a trend to put on a tattoo in that place to forget. Now, most youth, why do youth find tattoos appealing mostly? Generally speaking, why do youth find tattoos appealing? Number one, it's rebellion. As we talked about a couple of nights ago when we talked about cigarettes and smoking, we said that there are youth that smoke out of rebellion. There are youth that put on tattoos out of rebellion. Because many youth are rebellious, and tattoos are seen as being rebellious against their parents, their society, their community, their elders, they decide to put on a tattoo. For others, it's risk-taking to put on a tattoo. It's a form of risk-taking, and it hurts as well. Thus, when you put on a tattoo, you're showing your friends that you can endure a lot of pain and a lot of anguish, and you're very patient. For these reasons and others, youth find tattoos to be appealing. وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Are there health risks to tattoos? Yes. Doctors and physicians tell us that there are a lot of health risks to tattoos, to put on tattoos. Because putting tattoos requires breaking the skin barrier, tattooing can cause infection and allergic reactions. If safety measures are not taken, the HIV virus can be contracted. In amateur tattooing, if it's not professional and it's amateur, especially in prisons, there's a great risk of infection. If tattoo equipment is unsterilized, which is usually the case, or the ink is contaminated, it can cause the following: surface infections of the skin, fungal infections, some forms of hepatitis, herpes simplex virus, HIV, and tuberculosis. Some people might even be allergic to the ink. If they're allergic to the ink, catastrophes can occur. If the blood vessel is punctured during the tattooing process, even if you go to a professional parlor, a bruise may appear and it may remain for a while. Thus, there are health risks when putting on a tattoo, and those who decide to put on, they should know these health risks. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Can tattoos be removed? Yes, they could be removed. They could be removed. However, removing a tattoo is more painful than putting on a tattoo. Those who have a tattoo know that it's extremely painful. It's extremely painful and it's expensive. To remove a tattoo, it's even more painful and more expensive. It's possible, but it's extremely painful. You know, they say as a joke that a young man once went to a tattoo parlor shop and he wanted a tattoo. So they told him, what would you like? There's a bunch of kinds of tattoos. He said, me? Look at me. I'm huge. With this built body, I want a tattoo of a lion. They said, okay, have a seat and we'll put you a tattoo of a lion. When they started, he felt the pain. The poor guy didn't know that it had a lot of pain. So he started screaming. They told him, what are you screaming about? We just started. He said, I didn't know that it was this painful. When he saw that it's extremely painful, he said, listen guys, I changed my mind. I don't want a lion. Make it a small cat. It's painful. Those that think it's cool, they don't realize that they're putting themselves in pain. They have to endure pain. Why? Because they want to satisfy their friends. So that they take a picture of it and post it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or, I don't know, all these new social networking sites that are coming up, just to show off, just to say that I'm cool, I have a tattoo, just to show their friends. Now, what does this is the question. We come to the main question, and that is, what does Islam say about tattoos? وَصَلُّوا عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ. There are some that say the Quran forbids tattoos, where there's a verse in the Quran that states, إِن يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَّا إِنَاثًا وَإِن يَدْعُونَ إِلَّا شَيْطَانًا مَرِيدًا لَعَنَهُ اللَّهُ وَقَالَ لَآخُذَنَّ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. This verse is talking about shaitan. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kicked shaitan away from his mercy, away from his paradise, shaitan made a promise that I will fool your servants, I will give them false hope and false promises, and this is the point. And I will order them to change Allah's creation. Shaitan is saying that I will order human beings to change Allah's creation. Now some scholars say that this verse means, Shaitan is saying I will order humans to change Allah's creation. That means changing Allah's creation is what? Is haram. Because Shaitan is ordering us to doing it. Shaitan is ordering us to change Allah's creation, that it must be haram. Putting on a tattoo is changing Allah's creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a body, a beautiful body, clean, untouched, unscribbled, no ink, nothing. You come and you put a tattoo, you're changing Allah's creation. This means shaitan has ordered you to do so. If shaitan has ordered you to do so and to change Allah's creation, that means it's haram. What do you think? This is an opinion. However, this opinion is not acceptable. Why? Most scholars say, let's come to the verse. Let's see what is the verse trying to say. Shaitan orders human beings to change Allah's creation. Which of Allah's creation? Let's be very careful. Analyze it carefully according to the Quran itself. Changing Allah's creation, what does that mean? If any change to Allah's creation is haram? Of course not. When I cut my hair, I've changed Allah's creation. Allah has given me long hair. He's meant to give me long hair. I go and I cut it. Is this haram? If I trim my beard is meant to be long. This is how Allah created it. If I trim it, does that mean that it's haram? Of course not. No one says that it's haram. If I perform a surgery, if I change arteries, if there's a person that changes arteries in his heart, he's changed Allah's creation. Is that haram? Of course not. No one says that it's haram. Someone who's bald and grows hair, implants hair, is this haram? No. Liposuction, is that haram? No. This is all changing Allah's creation. But no one says that it's haram. Cutting trees, making them into wood, making them into paper. No one says that this is haram, even though it's changing Allah's creation. Building roads, breaking mountains and making tunnels. This is changing Allah's creation. But is it haram? No. No one says these things are haram, even though they are changing Allah's creation. This means that the verse is talking about something else. Another form of Allah's creation. Something else. What is the verse trying to say? You see, when shaitan promises to change Allah's creation, he means something else. What? Another verse tells us, there's another verse that tells us what is meant by Allah's creation. There's a verse that says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. Turn your face. فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. Turn your face to Allah's religion. This is the fitrah of Allah. The fitrah, the nature, the natural way that Allah has created us. لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. Allah will not change His creation. Meaning, in this verse is telling us that خَلْقِ اللَّهِ means fitrah. The disposition, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us. How has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us? He has created us as monotheists, as believing in Him and only Him. Not as polytheists, not as pagans, not as those who worship idols or who worship those other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fitrah that Allah has created us on is to worship Him as monotheists. Basically, shaitan is saying that I will change their fitrah. They are created to worship you, but I will make them worship someone else. This is what shaitan is trying to say. Not that I will order them to change Allah's creation as in trees and hair and beards and tattoos. No, this is not. It has a deeper meaning. See, we discovered the meaning of this verse, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, with the help of another verse. فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. خَلْقِ اللَّهِ means here fitrah. Thus shaitan is saying, I will let them change their fitrah. You've created, shaitan is telling Allah, you've created human beings to worship you. I will come and change that. I will make them worship me. I will make them worship their desires. I will make them worship the dollar bill. I will make them worship their business, and so on and so forth. You see, thus this verse has nothing to do with the physical change. Changing Allah's creation, not physically, but morally. Morally. And this, we call this tafsir al-Qur'ani bil-Qur'an. The Qur'an explains itself. We explain one verse with the help of another verse. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This is from the Qur'an. How about the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? And the Sunnah of the Ahlul Bayt. Is there anything pertaining to tattoos? Yes. There is a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in which he curses those who put on tattoos and those who put on tattoos for others and those who put on tattoos for themselves. This is a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah says, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْوَاشِمَ وَالْمُسْتَوْشِمَ. Al-washima is the one that puts on tattoos for others. Al-mustawshima is the one that puts on tattoos for herself. Rasulullah says, لَعَنَ Allah. May Allah curse, or Allah curses the one that puts on tattoos for others and the one that puts tattoos on for herself. Thus some say that, khalas, Rasulullah is cursing the ones that puts on a tattoo, so it must be what? It must be haram. However, when we study the hadith carefully, when we analyze the hadith carefully, when we analyze its context, we see that Rasulullah is talking in a specific context. What is the context? Number one, The hadith is addressing females. The female that puts on a tattoo for another female, and a female that puts on a tattoo for herself. You might say, why is Rasulullah cursing a female or the women that put on tattoos? Why not the men that put on tattoos? Why are women always oppressed in Islam? Why is it that they always receive the bad things? Why not the men? No. Women are not oppressed in Islam. Islam respects women. Islam loves women. Islam, in fact, puts women first. Islam says that paradise is underneath the feet of whom? The mothers, not the fathers. Islam respects women. But here, Rasulullah has a point. You see, back then, there was not so much makeup. There was no powder or all the, there's no Maybelline and all these things that exist today where women could use in order to put on makeup for their husbands on the night of their wedding. Some women would hide their blemishes. They would hide their blemishes and their scars through the usage of tattoos. So that when a suitor, someone who would come and propose to them, he would come, he wouldn't realize that she has what? She has blemishes. So either the tattoo is permanent or temporary. They would use tattoos to hide blemishes and scars. Rasulullah curses such women. Why? Because she's fooling the man. She's fooling the suitor. She's fooling the man who has come and proposed to her. He wants to see her the way she is, naturally. She shouldn't hide her blemishes and scars, and then after 2 months, when the tattoo is gone, he realizes that she has a huge scar on her face, or on her neck, or on her hands, or she has blemishes. Thus, Rasulullah is actually trying to say that don't fool the suitor. When someone who comes and proposes to you and wants to see you naturally, don't hide yourself. Let him see the real you. You see? It has a specific context. The context is not general. Rasulullah is not cursing all those who put on tattoos. We have to study the context and the content and analytically and objectively. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Furthermore, there are some scholars that have also argued that cursing doesn't necessarily mean something is haram. If Rasulullah curses someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that that act is haram. Most likely it's makruh. It's discouraged. It's not haram. And we have proof. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or one of the imams, they've cursed 3 groups of people. A person who travels by himself. The hadith says, La'anullah. May Allah curse the one who travels by himself. Is traveling by yourself haram? No, I hope not, because I traveled from Karbala to here by myself. Sleeping in a room by yourself. The hadith curses the one who sleeps in a room by himself. Sleeping by yourself haram? In a room? No. The one who eats by himself doesn't eat with people. The hadith curses him, even though eating by yourself is halal. It doesn't mean that it's haram. These things are discouraged. They're makruh. They're not haram. And perhaps the reason being is that the person who travels by himself, back then there were dangers, there were animals, there were lions, there were thieves in the middle of the way, they would stop and steal. Thus it was best to travel with a group so that you're not harmed. Rasulullah says, don't sleep by yourself. He curses the one that sleeps by himself. Why? Because when you sleep by yourself, at many times shaitan comes to you. Shaitan comes to you and puts in your head bad thoughts, haram thoughts. Thus it's always best to sleep with someone else in the room, with a sibling, with a brother, with a friend, so on and so forth. It is, the Imam curses a person who eats by himself. To teach us generosity, sit with others, share your food with others, be generous. Don't eat only by yourself. Thus perhaps this cursing teaches us about these things. It doesn't say that it's haram. There is no one that says traveling by yourself, or sleeping by yourself, or eating by yourself is haram. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Having said that, is it appropriate for our youth to put on tattoos? No. Just because it's not haram, it doesn't mean that it's appropriate, my dear brothers and sisters, my young brothers and sisters. Just because we reach the conclusion that it's not haram, not everything that is not haram is appropriate. There are many things that are not haram, but it doesn't mean that they're socially acceptable. It doesn't mean that they're encouraged. Just because it's not haram, it doesn't mean that it's appropriate. You see, Allah gave us beautiful bodies, clean bodies. Allah gave us this gift. You go and you scribble on it, you go and you write on it, all over your body. Why? You have a need, a crave to scribble, grab a paper and pencil and scribble all you want. You want artistic paintings, put on paintings, put on drawings. Why do you have to draw on your own body? This is a beautiful gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Why ruin it? Why destroy it? Our bodies belong to Allah, not to ourselves. He trusted us with these bodies. We have to take care of them. We have to take care of them. Let's keep our bodies clean. A man came to Imam al-Rada alayhi salam. You see, a man came to Imam al-Rada and asked him about music. Singing and music. He told him, is singing and music halal or haram? The Imam told him, I will have you answer that question. He told him, think intuitively. Let your intuition answer. If all of the good things gathered on one side, and all of the bad things gathered on another side, the truth, al-haq, gathered on one side, and batil, falsehood, gathered on another, music would be on which side? The man said, of course, on the bad side. With the batil. On that side. Imam Rada told him, khalas, I don't need to answer you. You answered yourself. You have the answer yourself. I tell my dear young brothers and sisters, our dear teenagers, if all of the good things gathered on one side, and all of the bad things gathered on another side, tattoos would be on which side? Answer intuitively. What does your intuition tell you? On the good side or on the bad side? Listen to your heart and listen to your mind. Ask yourself that if Imam Ali alayhi salam was alive today, would he have a tattoo? Would Imam Ali alayhi salam have a tattoo? If you were to see a person with a tattoo today, what would he say to that person? What do you think? If you say, I don't know what Imam Ali would do, then you're not being honest to yourself. You're lying to yourself because you know exactly what Imam Ali would do. Imam Ali would not have a tattoo. Some say yes, but Imam Ali alayhi salam says, don't treat your children according to your generation. Every generation has its own customs and traditions, right? Most of the youth have memorized this hadith. That Imam Ali alayhi salam tells parents to treat children according to the children's generation, not their generation. And today we live in the generation of tattoos. Okay. We also live in the generation of nightclubs. What do you say about that? We also live in the generation of rap music and R&B. What do you say about that? We should incorporate this part of our life and accept this just because it's part of our generation? This is not acceptable. I tell these young brothers and sisters who wish to get tattoos or have tattoos, or who keep on bugging their parents to get a tattoo. I ask them a question. Which kind of people get tattoos today? In your society, in your city. Who are the people that are getting tattoos? Lawyers? Professional doctors? Respectable engineers? Scholars? Maraji'? Congressmen, politicians, the respectful people in society, the respectable people in society, they're the ones that are getting tattoos? Or is it the actors and the rappers and the gang members and the criminals and the models and the celebrities, these are the ones that are getting the tattoos. Who are the ones that are getting to the tattoos? So who do you want to associate yourself with? Do you want to associate yourself with the good kind of people or the bad kind of people? Do you want to associate yourself with scholars and respectable people in the society, or do you want to associate yourself with criminals and gang members and rappers? That's up to you. You have to make that decision. Ask yourself right now, in 20 years from now, in 20 years from now, or even less, why 20 years from now? In 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when your young son or daughter come and ask you, can I have a tattoo? Will you say yes or will you say no? What will you say? I'm sure that most of you will not say yes. Most of you will not say yes. If you're thinking, I will say yes right now, you're lying to yourself. If you say, I will leave it up to my son or daughter, you're fooling yourself. Because when you have a young son or daughter, a teenage son or daughter, they come and ask you, Dad, can I have a tattoo? Or Mom, can I have a tattoo? Surely your answer will be what? No. So why do you accept it for yourself? If you don't accept it for your children in the future, why do you accept it for yourself? Think in the long run. Think 30 years from now, 40 years from now, will you want this tattoo on your shoulder? Will you want this tattoo? Will you be proud of it? Will you want to show it to your children? When your children will see it, will you be proud or will you be ashamed? When you have grandchildren that ask you about this tattoo, will you be ashamed or will you be proud? Or will you wear a long sleeve shirt to cover that tattoo? What are you going to do? Think about it. Think about it. Is it something that you'll be proud of or something that you'll be ashamed of? Don't tell me that I could have it removed. We know that you could have it removed. But 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you're not going to be proud of such a thing. There are some youth that say, I'm making a political statement, that I'm making a religious statement. I love Ali ibn Abi Talib. I love Imam Ali alayhi salam, and I wish to show the world how much I love him. I want to have his name on my shoulder. I want the sword of Dhul Faqar on my shoulder so that everyone sees it. Sees how much I love Ali ibn Abi Talib. Listen, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he thanks you for this love, but he doesn't want your tattoos. If you love Ali ibn Abi Talib, show your love through your actions. Show your actions. Show your love to Ali ibn Abi Talib through your actions, not through your tattoos. Show that you love him by being like him, by having his akhlaq, his manners. Speak the way he does, dress the way he does, eat the way he does, walk the way he does, live in the way he does. A person who loves Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam lives like Amir al-Mu'mineen, not just puts tattoos like Imam Ali. Am I right or am I wrong? Don't just say you love Ali ibn Abi Talib and you want to show the world through your tattoos. Jews came and told Rasulullah that we are closer to Ibrahim than you. We are closer to Ibrahim than you. Allah in the Quran says who is closest to Ibrahim. إِنَّ أَوْلَى النَّاسِ بِإِبْرَاهِيمَ لَلَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ. The closest person to Ibrahim are those who follow Ibrahim, not those who claim to be like Ibrahim. You claim to be like Imam Ali alayhi salam, or like the Ahl al-Bayt, or Imam al-Sadiq, or you're a follower of Imam Hussein. Show it with your actions, with your akhlaq, not just with your tattoos. There are many youth that put on tattoos of the name of Imam Ali and Imam Hussein and the sword of Dhul Faqar, but their actions say otherwise. Their actions do not portray them as followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Thus, my dear friends, I give this advice to our dear youth, that don't give in to peer pressure. Just because all of your friends in school or at work, they all have tattoos, it doesn't mean that you should also have a tattoo. Just because everyone else is doing it, it doesn't justify it. It doesn't mean what they're doing is correct. Even if everyone starts doing it. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, لا تستوحشوا من الطريق لقلة سالكيه. Don't be afraid of a road that has few people that has few pedestrians, that has few people who take this road. So what if all of your friends put on tattoos tomorrow? You be the right person. You be the role model for everyone else. Don't let others be role models for you. You be a role model for others. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. Thus, we come to the majlis of Abu Abdullah. Let's learn to behave like our imams. There are some youth that come to the majlis of Imam Hussein, they shed their tears and they cry and they beat their chest, but they have not picked up the akhlaq of Imam Hussein. There are some that come to the majlis of Abu Abdullah, yet they don't pray. They listen to music. They don't wear hijab. Their face is full of makeup. You think that Imam Hussein wants your tears? That he wants you to beat your chest? Yes, Imam Hussein wants your tears, but at the same time, he wants you to change your akhlaq, change your behavior, become more religious. What good is it that you come and you listen to Ma'tam and Azadari here, but then when you go out, you listen to music in your car? What good is it? What good is it? It's like making yourself ill and taking antibiotics at the same time. What good is it? Let's learn from Ashura, and let's learn from the members and from the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Look at these stars, the stars of Ashura. What good examples they are for us to take. Let's learn from them. A man by the name of Joan Mawla Abu Dhar. Joan was a black slave. He came to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and he was there on the day of Ashura. He was a slave. Yet he came to ask permission to fight. Imam Hussein alayhi salam told him, "Yeah, Joan, you are not required to fight. You came with us as a slave and we set you free today. You may go. You don't need to fight." Joan began to cry. He began to weep. He said, "Ya ibn Rasulullah, at good times I'm with you. At good times I'm with you, but at bad times I abandon you and I leave you. Never, Ya ibn Rasulullah. I wish to remain so that this black blood of mine will mix with your noble blood. Allow me to fight, Ya ibn Rasulullah." Joan enters the battlefield and he began to fight. All of a sudden, Imam Hussein heard a voice from him saying, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah." Imam Hussein wishes to Joan. He sits next to him as he was dying. Scholars, historians say that Imam Hussein did something with him that he didn't do with anyone else other than his son Ali al-Akbar. Imam Hussein came down and he put his cheeks on the cheeks of Joan and he prayed for him. He prayed, he said, "Oh Allah, make his blood noble blood. Oh Allah, accept him in paradise." And Joan passed away on that day. Another youth from the youth of Ashura was a young man by the name of Wahab. Wahab was a Christian Turk. He came to the day of Ashura. He came to the Karbala on the day of Ashura. He was newly married. He had just converted to Islam. On the day of Ashura, his mother comes and tells him, "Ya Wahab, enter the battlefield and make me proud. Make me proud so that on the day of judgment I'll be proud in front of Fatima al-Zahra." Wahab enters the battlefield. His wife comes to him. She says, "Ya Wahab, don't fight now. Don't die now. We just got married. It is too soon for you to die." Wahab ignores her. He enters the battlefield and he begins to fight. Moments later, his wife calls him. She says, "Come here, Ya Wahab, come back. I want to tell you something." He came back. She says, "Ya Wahab, enter the battlefield and do not come back. I want you to come back dead. I want you to come back. I want them to bring your corpse back. Don't come back alive." He said, "Subhanallah, moments ago you were telling me not to fight. Now you are telling me to fight?" She said, "Yes. لا تلمني يا وهب فإن واعية الحسين كسرت قلبي." Ya Wahab, don't blame me because I saw Abu Abdullah al-Hussein sitting he's sitting at the front of his camp, and he keeps on saying, أَلَا هَلْ مِن نَاصِرٍ يَنْصُرُنَا أَلَا هَلْ مِن ذَابٍ يَذُبُّ عَنَّا. He fought, and until he died, finally there was a young man, a 10-year-old child in Karbala, who came to seek permission from Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein saw him 10 years old. Imam Hussein refused to give him permission. He told him, your mother has already lost your father today. I don't wish for her to grieve her husband and her son. She said, my master, my mother was the one that sent me to you. My mother is the one that wants me to fight. His mother came. She said, Ya Aba Abdullah, atudhkaru bika ummuka Zahra, wa la udhkuru biwaladi. Your mother Fatima will mourn you, and I will not mourn my child. Please allow him to fight. Imam Hussein allowed him to fight. The child entered the battle, and he began to recite, أميري حسين ونعم الأمير سرور فؤاد البشير النذير علي وفاطمة والداه فهل تعلمون له من نظير. He fought bravely until they killed this young man. Shimr ibn al-Jawshan cut off his head. He threw his head back to the camp. His mother picked his head. She brushed the blood and sand from his face, and she said, بيض الله وجهك بيض الله وجهك عند رسول الله كما بيضت وجهي عند فاطمة. May Allah enlighten your face in front of Rasulullah the same way that you enlightened my face in front of Fatima. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا خوفا إلا آمنته، ولا رزقا إلا بسطته، ولا شملا إلا جمعته، ولا مرضا إلا شفيته، ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته، ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.